What is good, Raider Nation? It's your boy Raider Alex back with yet another video for you guys. Anybody that's new to the channel, you guys love Raider related content just like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. That being said, let's jump right into the topic of this video. The Las Vegas Raiders are now 2-10 and lose to the Kansas City Chiefs 19-17. And I'm gonna be completely honest with you, I understand I've wanted the highest draft pick possible, but I'm gonna be honest, man, that was a heartbreaking way to lose. I just cannot believe we lost in that type of fashion. The Raiders completely sold the game, and ultimately, man, this was just a super frustrating way to lose the game. I mean, overall, I'm super proud of the way this team played. The Chiefs were a 13-point favorites, and the Raiders legitimately had a shot to win this game. But man, to do all that work to get back into the football game, to have these big plays, and ultimately to have Aiden O'Connell drive down the football field and put us in a position to win this game, and for us to lose it in that type of manner. Jackson Powers-Johnson snaps the ball when Aiden O'Connell's not even ready for it. You can see prior to Jackson Powers-Johnson snapping the ball, Dylan Parham tapped him, indicating for him to snap the ball. When you're on the road, you're going to go on a silent count. And that's exactly what they did. He tapped JPJ to snap the ball. So I don't know why Dylan Parham did that, especially when Aiden O'Connell wasn't ready. But that was just a huge mistake by the Raiders. And that caused the football to be on the turf. And the Kansas City Chiefs recovered that football. And the game ended there. Now, one thing I will say is I don't really understand why the game ended that way, because there was a flag on the play. The Raiders were called for an illegal shift. And typically when you get pre-snap penalties, I mean, those are usually blown dead. The opposing defense usually doesn't have the option to decline that, but ultimately that's what happened in this scenario. They gave the Chiefs the option to decline the penalty, and that's exactly what they did as they recovered the fumble. So just absolutely heartbreaking way to lose, and just super frustrating overall. And I mean, ultimately, I mean, sure, there's a lot of different blame you can go around on this loss. You can blame Dylan Parham. You can definitely put some blame on our kicker, Daniel Carlson, who was 0 for 3 on the night. And typically, I mean, he doesn't have these type of bad performances. And I will say, the Raiders, I mean, they could have possibly ran that play and got Daniel Carlson to kick a potential game-winning field goal. And who knows, he may have potentially missed it as well, and we still could have lost the game. But still, I would much rather lose in that scenario where you have a legit chance to win the game. And if your kicker misses it, you look, at the end of the day, that is football. But instead, the Raiders lose due to a mental collapse at the end of the game. And instead, we lost due to a just terrible mistake by the offensive line. But it is what it is. The Raiders lost the game. I mean, overall takeaways is, look, at least we got a fun, exciting game to watch. The Raiders were in this from start to finish. I love the way the defense was playing. We got to give a huge shout out to the defensive line, as all game long they were just in Patrick Mahomes' face. They were making him uncomfortable. And overall on the night, the Raiders got 5 sacks on Patrick Mahomes. And one of the biggest factors into why the Raiders won last season on that Christmas Day upset against the Kansas City Chiefs on the road was due to the fact of the emergence, just a great breakout game from defensive end Malcolm Koonce. And today we got that breakout game from K'Lavon Chaisson, who just had himself an absolute monster game, got 1.5 sacks on Patrick Mahomes. And overall, like I said, we did a really good job getting pressure on him, making him feel uncomfortable, and that gave us a great shot to win this game. Like I said, I mean, we really should have won this game. We blew it. But overall, I really like the way we played on the defensive side of the football. Really, the one thing that was missing, and it's something that just has been missing all season long, is we were unable to get a turnover. I mean, if we would have been able to do that, that would have been a huge game changer in this one, but we weren't able to do so. And on the offensive side of the football, I got to give a lot of praise to quarterback Aiden O'Connell. He played absolutely lights out in this one. He gave us a great shot to win this football game. He was efficient with the football. He took care of the football. He was 23 of 35 passing with 340 yards and 2 touchdowns. And both those touchdown passes came in the second half when we were trailing on big chunk plays. The first to Brock Bowers for the touchdown, and the second one was to Trey Tucker for a touchdown. So huge shout out to Trey Tucker. I love to see that we finally were able to get him involved in the passing game, in the deep game. He had 1 reception for 58 yards and a touchdown. Brock Bowers had himself a phenomenal game again, 10 receptions, 140 yards, 1 touchdown. Jacoby Myers was just consistent for us as well, helping us move the chains. He had 6 receptions for 97 yards. And surprisingly, the Raiders did a much better job running the football. I love what I saw from Sincere McCormick, 12 carries, 64 yards. And look, this is a guy we need to see him a lot more often. I mean, at this point, I would put him as RB1. The kid has looked really good out there in the limited amount of snaps he had in this game and the limited amount of snaps he had in last week's game as well. He's averaging over 5 yards a carry. Amir Abdullah also had a solid outing as well, 10 carries, 39 yards, and he had a huge kick return for 68 yards that put us in great field position. But ultimately, this ended up being the perfect scenario for the Raiders to upset the Chiefs. It definitely kind of felt like a trap game for the Chiefs, and it definitely kind of seemed like they came into this game a little bit overconfident, and the Raiders took full advantage of that. The intensity was there from the jump, and the Raiders, they kept hanging in there, and in the second half, that's when we kind of came alive on the offensive side of the football, and we put ourselves in a great position to win this one. So that's just the overall recap of the game. Now, overall, what do I think when it comes to the grand scheme of things? Because ultimately, like I said in the past and in previous videos, look, the Raiders, their season is essentially over. You could definitely argue that there's just no real value in winning football games down the line this season, as their biggest objective should be to get a top 2 pick in this year's NFL draft. The Raiders are currently on pace to do so. But I will say, I mean, if we were to win at least one more game this season, I wanted it to be this game. I wanted it to be against our arch nemesis, the Kansas City Chiefs, on the road, because ultimately, like, next week we play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If we win that one, that's a meaningless game as well. Any other game that you win that's not against a divisional rival does seem a little bit meaningless to me. But at least in this one, if you would have beat the Chiefs, I mean, I think you send a good message to the Chiefs to let them know that, yeah, we might be one of the worst teams in football, but anytime you play the Las Vegas Raiders, we're going to give you guys hell, and we're not just going to let down. And ultimately, you love to get bragging rights anytime you get a victory over your divisional foe. So at the very least, if we were going to win a game, I would much rather have it be against a divisional rival in the Chiefs, kind of send them that message. And overall, you can also make the argument that the Raiders lost, so they maintained their top draft pick, but they also had the reigning champs on the ropes, and you had them down and out, but you just weren't able to capitalize off of that. That's another thought process to think of, but me personally, I don't really think the Chiefs really care about that. They just want the victory. They want to move on. And you kind of look at the season for the Kansas City Chiefs this year, there's just been a lot of games like this where they just barely win down the stretch. So I don't know, it kind of seems to me like they're kind of used to this at this point. It would have been nice to definitely ruin their little holiday, ruin their Thanksgiving weekend by getting a road victory in this one. But ultimately, a super tough pill to swallow in my opinion. But Raider Nation, I definitely want to get your guys' feedback in the comment section down below. What do you think about the game? What did you think about the outcome? Are you happy that we lost, maintain the draft pick, or are you frustrated that we let an opportunity to upset the Chiefs slip through our fingers? Let me know in that comment section down below. But with that being said, Raider Nation, that's all for you guys in today's video. Anybody that's new to the channel and you guys love Raider related content just like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. That being said, I will see you guys in the next one.